So now we're gonna get hit up with all these TurboTax options, all of us, and political ads.
And now we should be live. Let me come back to my Zoom.
David, you didn't get any of your, well, yeah, I'm reading his thing. So now we're gonna get hit up with all these TurboTax options, all of us, and political ads.
And now we should. Are you all able to see my screen? I'm going to assume yes by the silence.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Let me turn on the transcript. Oh my god. I have to stop sharing because it won't let me see the full thing. How do I do that? Okay, there we go. Now let me come back and share my screen again. And I shared the wrong screen. Haha. We're doing great on the live. All right, now we should be all good. Let me just hit record and we can go ahead and get started. Oh, I did not want to hit that. I'm doing great, y'all, as you can see. All right, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 12:08 p.m. and we'll go ahead and start off with the roll call. I am here. Chris?
Here.
Christina?
Here.
Louise? I'll come
Here.
back. Okay, there we go. See. Michael?
Here.
Alex is late. Jasmine?
Here.
Philly? Did he leave? Oh, he's right there. Philly?
Here.
All right. Kelly?
Here.
Emmanuel is excused. Kyle?
Here.
And David?
Here.
All right, now that we've gone ahead and established quorum, we can go ahead and move on with our agenda. Although before we proceed any further, I do want to acknowledge that we are conducting business on the native land of the Hahamanga tribe of the Tongva Nation and offer a moment of silence for those who came before us. All right, moving on then, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda for May 12th, 2021. As you can see the agenda in front of you, if there's anything that needs to be edited or changed, please let me know. If not, then I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
First.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Do we have any opposed? Any abstentions? No? All right, the agenda has been approved. We can go ahead and move on then to the approval of minutes from May 5th, 2021. Same as the agenda. If there's anything that needs to be edited or changed, please let me know. Let me go ahead and just go through the whole thing so y'all get a chance to see it. If I need to go back to anything from scrolling too fast, please let me know.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Do we have any opposed? Any abstentions? No. All right, hearing none, the minutes have been approved. All right, we can go ahead and move on then to the approval of the special meeting minutes for April 2nd. Let me go ahead and pull those up. Same as the other minutes and agenda. If there's anything that needs to be edited or changed, please let me know. But if not, then I would like to go ahead and entertain a motion to approve these.
I move approval.
Second.
All right, now that we have a first and a second, do we have any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes have been approved. Let me go ahead and come back to the agenda. We can move on then to agenda item 2, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any members of the public who would like to make a comment? And then can somebody check the YouTube for me, please, to see if we have any there?
No one at the YouTube right now.
All right, thank you, Carrie. We can go ahead and move on then to agenda item 3A, board reports. We'll start off with the order I see you on my screen. So up first, we have Michael. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
I'll just like to report that Finance Committee is working on the budget for summer 2021 to spring 2022. We're also like finalizing some event that we're planning, and we're partnering with Freeman Center. So they're getting some panelists for us, and yeah, it's going pretty good. Yeah, that's all I report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Up next on my screen, I see David. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
All right, y'all. How y'all doing? Let me see. Let me think. Okay, so on Monday, I guess I sort of defended AP 7210 on having student appointees on hiring committees. Dr. Hennis invited me to speak a little bit to that because the academic senate is still actively considering it. They chose not to vote on it this last Monday because it was just too controversial, and it was too much of a big discussion to have in that 1 hour meeting. But essentially, the gist of the concerns is that having students sort of opens up potential lawsuits for students, for student appointees, which, by the way, is completely false. The state chancellor's office has already said and has already released a legal opinion that that's not true, that students are allowed to be on these hiring committees, and nothing in state law prevents that. So just putting that out there. I will be back on Monday to make sure that I speak to those concerns. Right before this meeting, I actually had a meeting with Assemblywoman Wendy Carrillo to talk about mental health resources on community colleges. And she agreed to co-author a bill, AB 573, which is really great to hear that she was able to offer that co-authorship. The reason why I bring this up is because she also offered to set up a sort of like, I don't know, like a student roundtable to meet regularly with her to talk about community college concerns. And she wants to establish a group that she can talk to regularly from community college students. And so we're going to be collaborating with Glendale Community College and other colleges in our area to set that up. But yeah, that's all for me.
All right, thank you, David. Up next on my screen, we have Christina. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Hello. Hi, everyone. So just a few updates. Let's see. So I've been working with my committee to kind of go through with graduation and what we may be purchasing. And then I've also been working on getting our AS jackets, which has been a long process, but I'm hoping we can reach a conclusion soon. But other than that, those are the two main things that I've been working on.
All right, thank you, Christina. Up next on my screen, we have Kyle. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yeah, two things. First thing is I finished up the pro-con statements that were just put on the ballot, which were released today. So if y'all haven't voted, you guys are still students, and advertise to anyone who has already voted to make sure that they review that and just make sure that they've done the right thing, because it's all currently out right now, except for one, which we can talk about later. And beyond that, I also met with the Strategic Planning Committee yesterday. We focused largely on how are we going to increase transfer rates, and we're brainstorming ideas. So if you have any additional ideas you want me to bring to the committee, we talked a lot about how we need better pathways and transparency around what courses students need to take. But if there's anything else that you guys think are really important, let me know, and I'll bring that to our next session. And that's it for my reports.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Up next on my screen, we have Chris. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Not really, nothing much. Yeah, last ICC meeting again is next Friday, so kind of excited for the next page in ICC's chapter. Definitely excited for elections because that's going on right now. Yeah, it was a long term and academic year, but I'm glad we're seeing, the closing of that. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Chris. Up next on my screen, we have Philly. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
No report.
All right, thank you, Philly. Up next on my screen, then we have Kelly. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes. All right. So hopefully we reviewed the document from last week. So what is it called? We'll be approving of that today later in the legislation portion of the meeting. Other than that, we've started contacting our federal representatives. We've been emailing this past week, and next week we are scheduled to have a few meetings. So that's going to be exciting.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Up next, we have Jasmine. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes, sorry y'all. I've been having like some really bad technical difficulties lately. So yeah, please excuse that. So I have a few reports, starting with the Student Success Committee that I attended yesterday. Dr. Carrie Bolin is now the chair to that. So I would like to inform you all that she has been doing an amazing job at taking over this, like, I don't know, like this unprecedented position. And she also took the time to meet with me sometime last week, and just really focusing on coalition building and overall embracing like student success, even throughout pandemic times with trauma informed practice and care. And with that, she did announce that she will be conducting some trainings during summer and spring of 2021. So I'm really excited to see PCC become a very trauma-informed campus. I think that that's really, really necessary, especially with all the disparities that the pandemic has underlined and highlighted, really. So yeah, moving forward, they did talk about May as Foster Care Awareness Month, and I would like to amplify the opportunities that there are. If you all know anyone that was ever in the foster care system that would be helped with the resources that are provided by EOPNS and CARE and STARS. They are offering meal cards for this year, and they've just been doing a really good job at providing the basic needs for students yes, thank you, Michael. And next up, providing basic needs and just educational resources as well to promote retention upon folks that have been impacted by this system. And so yeah, May is Foster Care Awareness Month. If you all know anyone that can benefit from these resources, please let me know, and I can go ahead and connect them to Nikki Dixon. And then moving forward, we did talk about some policy review change and having a holistic point of view with Miriam Altunji, and I'm sorry if I butchered her last name, but really they talked about having a subcommittee that looks at only educational policies and conducting a committee towards that for law and local policies, that is. And that's it for that report. Moving forward, the equity committee meeting is tomorrow from 1:15 to 2:45. We will be talking about mental health month, as well as having a conversation, and even like I want to say a statement regarding all the global imperialism and colonialism that's going on in the world right now, and amplifying or educating on what's really going on with Colombia and Palestine right now. So please take the time to educate yourselves, and also if you all can come in and provide some resources or any type of awareness to tomorrow's meeting, I would greatly appreciate it. This is something that we shouldn't ignore, and we should definitely speak out on because it ignites change and awareness for social justice.
All right, thank you, Jasmine. Up next on my screen, we have Alex. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
I hope you have yourselves.
So I have been working on basically all of the end of the year events. I'm meeting sometime this week with David to further discuss what our banquet will look like, and details for that. The escape room is next Friday, I believe. And then I am doing something else. Oh, I'm working on a budget for the June 19th movie night. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you, Alex. Up next on my screen, then we have Louise. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I do. I know I've given, oh, sorry, also my mic is spotty, but I've been reminding everybody to please attend my event, my committee's event, and also thank you all for helping me put this together. The Student Services Fair, woo! It'll be at 3 to, I can't even read it, 3 to 4:30 because I mirrored my video. But yeah, a lot of people will be there. Jordan will be there. So please come check it out so you can get some information on, how many programs we have and what they can do for you, and spread the word, because I really hope to have a great turnout for such a big collaborative event. And of course, I'm doing a lot of the end of the year events as well. And my committee is working on kind of gathering data. Oh yeah, I will send the flyer, or yeah, I'll send the flyer. But my committee is working on gathering data on like how student services reach students this year, and just kind of how we can do better for the next committee next year. So yeah, very bittersweet, but I'm very excited for this executive board and committees. Good luck, everyone who's doing elections right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Louise. As for my own report, like Jasmine mentioned, we did attend student success meeting this week. We talked about the policy review charge and some subcommittees, and so they were discussing about what committees they would like for students to sit in on, and just seeing how we can just oversee everything and get updates on. We also did do an equity plan review, since we do have Dr. Boland chairing the meetings now. And so we were just split up into different groups and just sort of talking about how we have currently kept up with the goals of the committee, what we need to change, and what we think we may be missing in this. And so I was mostly consulted for the student experience in the classroom and just coming back to the school year, seeing what it is that's working in the classrooms for professors that are still having people attend their classes at the end of the semester. Other than that, I also met with David so we could talk about what we're going to be presenting at the Board of Trustee presentation, which make sure you all make your slides and put something together. I know I am still working on mine, so please make sure it's good. This is going to be our big presentation on what we've done the entire year, so it's really important that we do well on this. Other than that, I have nothing else to report, and so we can go ahead and move on to our advisor reports. So whoever would like to go first.
I'll go first. Hi, everyone. So just make sure that if you're graduating or you think you're graduating, to stay on top of your graduation deadline dates, and also register for commencement. Even if you're doing something on that day to help with commencement, if you're graduating, we hope you're not, but if you are, please make sure you pre-register, and you can do that on the commencement page on our website. And you can also order cap and gown. And AS will also have their own stoles. You don't have to purchase a cap and gown to participate. Folks are just doing it to keep it. And if you have a situation, as with any other students, if you have a situation in which you can't have your cap and gown mailed to you, please contact Saria and let her know, and we'll make arrangements with the bookstore for you to pick it up on campus at the bookstore. So those details are moving along. Logistics are crazy, but they're moving along, and I'm really excited that we actually can offer something that's kind of a mix between in-person and virtual. Actually, I like this kind of better than virtual. So I'm excited about that, that it's a drive-through, so students can actually be on campus and we can actually see students that we work with. Really, Michael, you're just going to wear just wherever. When we open up, it'll be the first thing you do when you go to a restaurant. I have a cap and gown. I don't blame you. When I get mine, I'm going to rock mine pretty regularly too. So I wanted to make you aware that there's a small subset committee of student services folks, primarily managers, but a couple other folks. And we're working on the process to return to some face-to-face student services appointments and what that can look like. And as you know, with everything right now, we're in transition for everything. We're kind of waiting until after June 15th so maybe we don't have to have any restrictions. But so just so you know that we're working. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. That we are working on those. And so the first, as we slowly transition back, the first face-to-face services will be by appointment only. We'll still be utilizing the Virtual Success Center as kind of a scale up or escalation to have students get access to appointments. So it won't be like you can go online and say, I want a face-to-face appointment. It will go through a process, at least in the first phase it will. And so the goal is that the first phase will do appointments only. And then as we progress into a second phase, which we think will be, you know, July, August, and as we open up and whatever those protocols will be, that we will start transitioning to regular services or at least more in-person services that students can have direct access to. And right now they're going to be really limited, probably to admissions and records, financial aid. So you all are included, or AS is included in that, but you all are a really particular group. So you're not going to be on the big plan. But, and we've already started bringing you back face to face, but so student conduct will be some that'll be by appointment only for students as an option. We will offer some face-to-face counseling appointments. And what now the plan is that all of that initially will be housed in the Pathway Center, because they have the space. And so we're still working on the details of that and what that will look like in a day. The schedules will be limited because, as you know, most of our services are still being offered primarily virtually. So we don't want to pull all the staff off of the virtual support and move them all to in person when that's not the breadth or the largest scope of what students have access to right now. So I just wanted to make you aware that we're moving slowly. I know for some folks, it may not seem like it's enough or it's not happening fast enough, but there's a lot that goes into this, and we have to make sure that all the protocols are followed, as well as other things related to staffing and faculty availability. I'm glad Michael mentioned the Freeman Center. I think if you've never visited the Freeman Center all year, you don't care about it, you think your life's set, I would say go peek at their website and, you know, take advantage of some of their workshops and their appointments, because this is a huge transition period, whether you're continuing on or moving on. This is a huge transition period, and it's good to have as many options as you can, so that, you know, if things don't work out, or if you feel like you're in a place where you don't want to keep doing what you're doing now. We were talking about taxes and jobs. Maybe you don't want to keep doing those jobs. Maybe there's a better job out there for you. I would say visit the Freeman Center, and this is a plug for them, because this is an important time of the year to visit them in this transition period. And also a transition, I want to acknowledge that during this transition with you all, that you're leaving a role. Most of you will be leaving a role and moving on into another role, or just a continued role as a student or somewhere else. That with some of the excitement that occurs, also occurs anxiety and apprehension. And a lot of times that's often when we stop being productive, right? and we stop because there's also fear that's part of that anxiety and excitement, don't stop. Just deal with the fear, acknowledge the fear, and keep moving forward. And you don't have to have all the answers about every aspect of your life right now. Okay, acknowledge and appreciate that you're in a transition, and you've accomplished many good things this year. And I'm so excited. Once again, I'm going to say that you all get to be back in the office, even such as it is, before the end of your tenure, because I think that's really important. But acknowledge that you have transition, acknowledge that, or that you're in transition, acknowledge that the college is in transition, your committee members, your friends, and your families are in transition as we also emerge from this pandemic. And be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, and give yourself space in that time to figure things out. Okay, so that's all I want to say.
Okay, I don't have a lot. We're coming towards the end of the year. Just to keep going with stuff. First of all, if you can all remember, if you didn't get the email, EWs are back. Hey. So if any of you feel that you need to have an EW or take advantage of that, you might want to look at that form. They're not giving them automatically. So read that email. I believe you can still apply for them after you get your grade. So that's a really generous option. And I believe you don't have to say like, you know, my life imploded. I think you just need to say that online format during COVID was not conducive to my learning achievement. Just something like that. And they'll give you an EW. I only mention that because Friday is this last day to drop at the W. And I know some of you are considering and cutting it close. So I want you to know that you have the EW as an option. And you want to share that with your folks. You know, make sure we're putting that out on our social media, Philly, or actually your committee. And then also the same thing, if just spread the word in your classes about that. And also spread the word that don't forget to remind people, we don't have winter. I'm still coming across people who are like, we don't have winter? No, we don't. So you need to get into that one summer session that we've got. So make sure folks are doing that and doing the registration for that. I'm excited about graduation. It's going to be a long day. So I'm hoping some of you will be there to join us, either as volunteers or definitely bring your families by. I would love to meet your friends, your family, whoever. In the car, Becky, in the car. I can wave to them in the car. So yes. But don't forget, don't cram like 6 households. Everyone should have a seatbelt. Let's be safe. But do bring your family by. I would love to see them and meet them because it's your day to celebrate as well. And if you're not graduating, that's okay. You can join the fun with us and be there and run around like crazy and get in 20,000 steps. Other things with that is kind of the last thing as we get going. You can have an AS car. How about that? You can have the AS clown car and you can all clown into that. So a couple of things coming up when we get to, we're getting ready again towards the end. We're wrapping things up. So, you know, take some time right now, and even if you're not leaving files behind, start just a running monologue that you can share and hand down to the next person after you. If you've got passwords to things that they need to know, put them there or change them. So, you know, make them, you know, easy password 123 so they can go in there and change the password. Make sure that we're wrapping up things as we go. You all don't forget, kind of, we're keeping you, we have you for 14 days. You don't get away this fast. We have you for 14 days after the last day of spring, unless you're escaping to a foreign country to learn another language, and then we can't stop you. But other than that, the rest of you all should be here. So that's also going to be, we're probably going to do a little bit of cleaning, and I hope we're all be able to support Alex doing the last event, which would be the drive-in movie. Last day, make a note of this, make a note, take out a pen, write it down, put it on your phone. The last day that I really want to, we need to process paperwork for any sort of spending, any sort of allocation will be June 1st. So that's a Tuesday. So if you've got to pay folks, if you got to pay Swank, if you got to pay our vendors, if you need to get reimbursed, if you need to do some sort of spending, it needs to be to our office and Miss Sharon by June 1st. That means you need to talk to Michael and get help making sure you've got the items in the right place, because we're finding some things are being taken out of the wrong line item. And so that needs to be, make sure you work with him on that and get that done. Because we want to make sure that we have time, because we have to make sure that we close the books by July 1st. And really, Sharon probably will have a whole load of items, not just from you all, but she processes a lot of things. So we need to make sure that everything is in by the time, otherwise there'll be some issues. Michael did say that he is processing a temporary budget. That is something that is new. You all will be asked to, yeah, Dean, you can all blame Dean Cobb. You all will be asked to approve a temporary budget, which will allow the next group to operate from summer to whenever they decide to put in their own final budget. But rules are now we have to have a budget in place. So that will come up. So if you all have any comments on that, funnel them to Michael. I know there's not been a lot going on with that. So other than that, oh yeah, hey, we're having an election. So please, we're in elections. It's been really hard. It's been hard. It seems like every time there's a technological glitch, there's something that goes on. So there, just to let you know, there is a problem with the elections. When I put it together, there were 4 constitutional amendments, and I was doing it. I'm like, oh, look, I've got 4 constitutional amendments. I accidentally did the 3rd one twice. So it's the one about the business affairs is on twice. And the one that got left off is the community involvement one. Kyle, what's that one called? The community
responsibility.
Yeah. So that is my fault, and I definitely don't, this is something we need to take care of. The nice thing about Lancer Life is that we have the ability to run elections again. So I'll consult with Kyle and we can make a decision as to whether or not we want to hold election again this spring, or if we want to hold off on, we can certainly hold one for the fall. It's not that big of a deal if we're just doing the Constitution pieces. So other than that, that's what I have. And I think that's it. Thank you. Oh, don't forget, the insurrection event is happening tomorrow. If you are free, it is, I love it because they scheduled it for 2 hours. And I love that they recognize that something that is this important really needs to take time. So it's going to be a good event, a civic engagement versus extremism. Are you a patriot? Are you a terrorist? And have these great panel discussions with students who are activists. So they're your age and they're out there in the mix. So really do come on by. I'm posting it in Lancer Life, and I'll post, and you'll get it because you're all in associate students, but make sure you all go. It's the 13th, which is tomorrow from 12 to 2 p.m. Yeah, it's like we're having AS a lot. So there's a lot of stuff. Because don't forget, we also then have, in a couple hours after that, we'll have Louisa's Student Service Day. So a lot of time, you can spend time together. So thank you very much. That's what I got.
All right, thank you, Carrie. We can go ahead and move on then to financial reports. I'll go ahead and pull that up as Michael did send it to me. And here we go. Michael, you want to go ahead and take the floor?
Sorry, I was typing in the chat. Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
I can't see on this tiny computer screen. Okay, so basically the financial report is essentially the same as the last one I gave. There's only been a few adjustments. As you can see, one of the adjustments was incentives, which came out of mailer bags. Yeah. And then also postage, which was also mailer bags. So that was pretty interesting. Yeah, and that's basically the updates to it. We still have a large amount of money in most of these accounts. You see publicity hasn't been touched, and we still have a lot of money in programming, barely been touched. And also we still have a good amount of incentives still left. So, there's still a great amount of money for these future events that I heard Louise talking about and Alex talking about. So I'm going to look forward to seeing some of these requisitions coming in. Thank you. That's all I have for the report.
All right, thank you, Michael. Does anybody have any comments, questions, anything? No? Sorry, my mind is blank. Do we need to do anything from here?
Yes, you do need to have officially accept, move, and vote and accept this as the financial report.
All right, thank you, Carrie. My memory is not all there today. Does
I
anybody
move
want to make?
to accept the financial report.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and bring this to a vote. I believe it needs to be in roll call order. So we'll start off with Chris.
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Alex.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Philly.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
And David.
Aye.
All right, we've approved the budget. Let me go ahead and I need to zoom back out on this. Ha. All right, we can go ahead and move on then to discussion. Not to discussion, to agenda item 4, shared governance discussion. If anybody has anything that they would like to discuss from somebody's report or something that they want to further discuss that they heard at shared governance meeting, you can go ahead and do so now. I will give you all a moment to unmute yourself, see if you have anything you would like to say.
I have a question for Dean Cobb.
Mhm.
For the commencement, is there like a plan for the day? Because I have people willing to volunteer, but they don't know what time commitment they should be looking at.
Yeah, so we're still working on that because we had it in place last week and then we got some information and which changed the whole schedule we had created. So we'll probably start the day at 8:30 and the day will probably end at about 7:30. So in that time frame, we're still working out what jobs we are asking volunteers to do. What I can say is we're asking for a 2-hour commitment for volunteering. And Saria, I know, is working on a form to request volunteers from employers, but not employers, employees. But we can certainly ask, we can send that to you and include students in that too. But we're asking for a 2-hour commitment. Like I said, I'm trying to get a realistic clarification of what we need volunteers to do. A lot of it will be as greeters as students drive in. Also, some could be that we need people staged in certain areas as to cheer students on. If we have a lull, or if we have a division that doesn't have a lot of people, that kind of thing. So most of our volunteers will be at the front end of the event.
Okay.
So I hope by the end of this week, I have a clear something to send out to you and to the campus with specific times.
Cool. Thank you.
And Carrie, I see your hand is raised.
Yes. I just wanted to circle back to David and the hiring committee question. If there's anything more that needs to be done, and is this something that would be helpful if you had other students show up to the meeting as well?
I don't know. I don't know if it would be more helpful to have more students because they go by it really, really quickly. Like Dr. Hennis, he kind of rushes the conversation, and I understand because they have such a limited time and they have so many things to talk about. But I mean, if anyone here is super passionate about talking to this, I would appreciate the help and another perspective. That'd be great. I'm mostly going to be speaking to the concerns about the legal aspects because that seems to be the only concern from what I heard. But I don't know. What are everyone else's thoughts?
Does anyone have any other questions, comments, concerns?
I know that Philly.
Yeah, so
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I was at the district technology committee this past Wednesday, and I congratulate Candace on her move into Dr. Bush's position. So in terms of, I think, where we are in faculty right now, I mean, I know this is the outgoing board, but just, I guess, for everyone's information, I asked Candace about what the transition will look like now that she's out of IT. So she tells me that currently, as of right now, she is actually doing both jobs. She is doing both her old job and, you know, at the same time taking on Dr. Bush's previous roles. So I'm not quite sure what the transition will look like in terms of hiring that next head of IT, but that's where we are right now. Just want to share that just because I was just curious, and she gave me that information during the meeting.
Well, I hope she's getting both salaries, first of all, because
PCC.
That may be fair. But I think we're talking more about the policy about hiring committees, Chris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were moving on to a different topic, or I'm sorry. It's hard to follow. I'm on the phone, so.
Yeah, I think they're both logical, reasonable. And David, I just wanted to circle back to see if we needed to have any other. It's interesting that they were fighting that, so that's great. If you do need some help, if anyone is free, that maybe one or two persons just want to be there and be supportive, that would be good. Kelly, I don't know if you've got someone on your committee, because seeing that this is legislation, although this is not one that you've all discussed. And then my other follow-up question is just, can we get an update on the Board of Trustees event?
As in the AS joint meeting, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we will be probably, what said that? Okay. So we're still developing the presentation. I still need to meet with about half the board because they couldn't meet with us earlier this week. So that's I'm still trying to circle back with everyone. But latest, I want everyone to have their parts done by Tuesday night, so that we can do like a practice run right after our meeting on next Wednesday. And then and because there's an hour-long point where they go into closed session, and so that's sort of where we have our opportunity to have that pre-run. And then at 7 is when the open session starts, so we'll probably all just join in at 7 since they usually have us in the beginning anyways.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good. I just wanted an update where we are. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any further discussion while we're on this agenda item?
Well, I mean, I did want to get like thoughts from Dr. Cobb and Carrie about the hiring committees, like what your thoughts are, and how, like, what other, like, how else can I push this through? Because like, I'm just a student, and I'm talking to a board of 22 academic senate members, and yeah, I can't represent the entire student body, and I can't represent everyone else's opinions there. So I need to get other people's perspectives.
I think, like Carrie said, I think you pull in students. I think this is not just a legislative issue. I think it's an academic issue, and it's a representation issue for AS and also for students. And I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot. It's if the chancellor's office has a legal opinion that says that there is no additional liability or undue liability for students, I'm not sure what the other obstacles would be to this, other than, what you and I have talked about, which is being able to accommodate all of these hiring committees with students. And I think for me, it's more practical than philosophical or or legislative. It is more so about how is AS going to ensure that there are students available to serve on all these hiring committees. Because I think after we get beyond this pandemic in the next 3 years, we may see another surge of hiring. Because I think in the meantime, we're going to see some retirements. You know, people are going to move on, and I think we're going to see another surge of hiring. And with that, how is AS going to accommodate and be able to serve on all those committees? So that's really my input on it. And you and I have talked about that, not necessarily as an obstacle, but certainly something to think about in terms of process and logistics. And so I think whatever, you've been meeting about this for some time now, so I know that you have a lot of different ideas. But like Carrie said, bring in more students to talk about how significant this would be. I think particularly if you bring in students who are within a division in which faculty are being hired, how empowering that will be for students, and to have that voice at the table. And I think it's a natural progression for us to say we are an equity focused institution. We are a student, what are we now? Student first, student focused. What are we saying? We are now student centered campus. I think it's been imperative that students be involved in that hiring. And so I would say take it back to our mission, right? Take it to our mission and values that we are asserting as an institution, and say that this fits right within that in terms of being equity focused and student first. What better way than to have students at the table when faculty are being hired?
Absolutely.
David, I think you're really a masterful writer. And I think what you do is you weave a great story. Dean Cobb gave you a lot of key points, like pull it back to use our words, right? And you've been enough of these committees, especially with accreditation, you know, to pull them forth, to say, you know, we're a student-centered campus, that we believe in equity, and that it's important that the diverse faces and voices are heard in hiring and selecting of our campus. Our campus's student population is 80+% students of color, but our faculty is 80% plus white. So, and I can tell you, and we'll say this to everybody, people hire people whom they're comfortable with, right? And if your committee is made up of all one group, even if it's all like academics, full-time academics with PhDs, right? That's who they're going to want to be with. That's why it's important that we have this variety of voices. And also, you all are the customers. So I think, like Dean Cobb says, and what I would say is you're a really masterful writer. Weave all of these themes together into a cohesive statement, and then bring in someone who is passionate about it. And you might have to do a little prep work with them, because a lot of times students don't understand. They think any professor in front of them is a full-time professor of the college. And we know that's not true. 70% of them are not. So pull in someone who's got that passionate, you weave that intelligent argument that's bulletproof, that tugs at everything that we want to be. We have this aspiration to be this great institution that is a opportunity for everyone to come and learn. That's what our whole mission statement says. So you bring that out and say, this is a step that will bring us in that right direction. And then bring one or two people who can speak eloquently on why it's so important to have a voice, or and talk about the leadership aspect, how empowering that would be. So might get someone who's been on a hiring committee. You might look for if any of the old board members. I think Philly, you're the only one who's been on a hiring committee. So maybe bring Philly out and talk about how empowering that was to be able to pick who the next person is. So that's a good testament to say that how he feels he's going to have a chance. And it was hard. Philly, I'm guessing it was hard, because I know you were doing that, balancing that, a lot of things. Right? And Christina was on one too. That's great. Christina too. Oh, that's right. I forgot. You were on Carrie Boland's hiring committee. So really just pull those two folks up and have them talk about, and Mackenzie's been on a lot too. Pull folks up and talk about what that experience was like, and how it felt to know that you were shaping the next step of the college. So that's very aspirational, and that's what this college likes.
Yeah, I definitely want to emphasize how impactful student involvement in our hiring and administration has been, because we have such wonderful managers and administrators, but that diversity is not reflected on our faculty. And there's that one distinction, the fact that the students are not involved in the hiring of faculty. So I definitely want to convey that. And very coincidentally, we find out if we're getting Aspen or not the day before or the day after we're considering this very important topic. So who knows?
Do we have any further discussion either on this topic or another one that falls under this agenda item? No. Give y'all like 5 seconds if you have anything you want to throw out there. Okay, we got nothing, so we can go ahead and move on with the agenda. Moving on to action items, we have none, so we could go ahead and move on then to discussion item A, invited guests. We don't have any. So moving on to discussion item B, Supreme Council. Kyle, the floor is yours on this.
1 second. So actually I have a couple of justices here. So I think at this point we have Henry and Natalie here. We just want to talk a little bit about the election process itself, and I'll turn the floor over to them a little bit, then I will take the floor again. Oh, if they're here.
I guess I'll start. Thank you for having us here. So first of all, I'm here because I'm concerned. I looked at the ballot that was released this morning, and one of the amendments is not on the ballot. And I want to know what you are all doing to make this work and get it fixed, because we worked very hard on this, and I honestly feel very disrespected for my work not being put on the ballot.
I think I'm here too. Thanks for having us. Very exciting. And moved to be a little bit of a more pulled back tone. You know, I understand we have a lot of work to do to put all that together. So, you know, thank you a lot for getting that. We understand these things happen, but we would like to get this done, as this amendment specifically is about bettering the running of the associate students, including the executive board. And so we'd like to get it done, you know, as soon as possible, because it's about, you know, bettering the future and not right now. So I think it's really important to get on that sooner rather than later. So thank you.
Can I respond to that, Mackenzie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Natalie and Henry and Kyle, I do apologize. That was my fault. So it's really addressed to me. It's not necessarily the associate students, because they don't get to make the ballot. So it's not their fault, it's my fault. When I was creating the ballot last night, I had a bunch of windows open, and I knew I had to have four amendments, and I had 4 amendments. I didn't realize that I had copied the 3rd amendment twice. And so I've been on the phone with the company, and that's what I was trying to meet with. Kyle let me know early this morning, and I did thank him for that, because I didn't catch that when I was reviewing just before I hit publish. So that was definitely my fault. And I was reviewing our options about what we can do. And like I said earlier, doing advisor's comments, that happened, and I apologize, and that is unfortunate. And I was trying to figure out what is the best way to address that. I did not want to take the ballot down, nor did I want to take away the amendment or add the amendment at the last minute, because I don't think that is good for the integrity of the vote. So I agreed to let the vote go as it is. Our options for this are, because we have a lot of options, and I mentioned this to Kyle, and I did want to actually sit down and talk with him to see about what he wanted to be doing. But what the options is that we can easily run another election just for that piece. So if we wanted to run that another one in 2 weeks, we could do that, because I feel like 2 weeks would be enough time to also put out the word, and in 2 weeks we won't run into finals. Or the other option is we hold this and roll this over, and we hold it in the fall, and we can hold a constitutional amendment in the fall. So it will go up. It will go up at this point. It's just a matter of timing. So again, that was my fault for doing that. And I understand, because you all did put your blood, sweat, and tears into that. And I really tried to make sure that what was put up there in a way, because it's a lot of information for folks to see. So I do appreciate that, and you getting that done. So again, my apologies. I recognize the amount of work that went into that, because I know we've talked about that for so long. So right now, the only option is There is an option that I can do. I can go ahead. I don't want to add a ballot at this point because we've already had people vote. So that disenfranchises them to not let them have an opportunity to vote on that. So it's really not an option to add it at this point. It was an option to take the fourth one down. But I also felt like that would tamper with the integrity of the ballot, that once the ballot is out, it really shouldn't be changed. It should go forth as it is. And but I did want to talk to Kyle about that. So that's where we are with that.
Could we retract the ballot and then reintroduce a new ballot that's amended?
If the issue were, so the problem with this is if I retract the ballot, we lose all of the votes. And I don't think it's a good look. I had thought about putting a note on there on the fourth one, just saying, retracting this was made in error. And I had thought about putting that up there and telling folks that they don't have to vote on it. Because interestingly, people have voted no on item number 3 and voted yes on item number 4, even though they're exactly the same. So, and to be honest with you, not everyone, you're lucky. It's great that there was only 4 amendments because last year when we had 12, the last number 12 barely passed because people stopped voting at that point. And they're just tired. And you can even see it on this ballot, it's trending. I put the ones that I felt were most important up first because I wanted them to read them and get them through. So that would be, that was the diversity statement and the emergency clause statement. And those are consistently getting votes, and then we're seeing it trail off. So because of this as a discussion item, I'm happy to keep discussing it. I would love, and I said that's why I want to talk to Kyle about it. I don't know if we want to discuss it as a whole, but yeah. So what your thoughts are on that?
In a sense, this is kind of for everybody because whatever we decide to do, this is going to be what it's going to be next year. Because if we decide to have another election, my worry is that a lot of people aren't going to vote for just one amendment, which might mean that we get a skewed vote. And that's also kind of detrimental because assuming we have like a mass election, you have probably the largest kind of voter turnout you're going to get. But if we introduce a singular amendment, which they're going to vote on, the likelihood that you're going to get a very specific group of students voting on it's going to be pretty high compared to like a wider election. So that would be my hesitancy.
Mhm.
So what I was thinking before was literally retracting the ballot and then changing the period of voting. So you would lose all the votes, yes, but then when you change the time period, you also give them the same amount of time to vote. So it would mean that people who've already voted would have to re-vote. But that would be probably the best way to maintain the integrity, which you mentioned. But once again, yes, you'd lose all the votes, and all the people who spent their time would already lose that.
So I have a
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I just think that would have the detriment of sort of doing the same thing, but instead of just for that one amendment for the entire election, right? Like you either get the people that vote that pay attention and vote, and if the people who don't pay attention and vote again for a second amendment won't pay attention and vote again for the entire election.
I would like to also add on to that there, like we're going to be like really asking a lot out of our student population to re-vote again, especially during like these closing weeks of our semester. So it's like, are they really going to want to reinvest that time they've already invested in to do another, poll or ballot?
Okay, we have 2 hands raised. We have David and Kelly.
Okay, so this is the amendment regarding, I guess it's adding a clause to cooperate with the public, the rest of ASBCC, the college-wide committee, supplying all necessary information to facilitate a collaborative environment, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I guess at this point, my recommendation would be to push this amendment off to next year's election. And the reason why is because a lot of the things that are discussed in this committee, committee responsibility is something that AS already does. We do this based off of what the Constitution implicitly tells us to do. I think it's super important to be explicit about these things, but I don't think that it's super imperative to risk the integrity of this election in order to get this passed when this is already something that we already implicitly do. So I think it's great. I think the work that was done on this is amazing in bettering this constitution, but I also think that, you know, it won't hurt if we push it off to next year.
Yeah, I just kind of want to add on. I think there'd probably be more detriment in changing it now, just because of the election that's going on currently, and also, let's say the people who do end up, getting attracted to like wanting to vote for a constitutional amendment. I think those are the same people that would actually be reading the Constitution, the Constitution that they're trying to amend carefully. So there's not necessarily a lack of participation or a chance that it might not get passed, right? If you do a separate one later on. It might just be more spam for students, but I see that's the only detriment in doing this at a later time.
I'm gonna respond to David really quickly because the way that I see that the ballot's out right now, what if someone were to vote yes on the business affairs and then no on business affairs, and the one loses and one wins? What are we going to do? Are we going to have that be a part of the Constitution because it won, or are we going to say no, it shouldn't be because it lost?
And that was my concern. I'll just tell you, Kyle, jump in for David. That was my concern because that is actually happening. Overall, the votes trend, and the only time I've ever seen a constitutional amendment come close to failing has been when we had 14 amendments on the ballot, and numbers like 13 and 14, people just stopped voting. So that's when the no votes had a larger impact. Because this error happened at the tail end of the ballot, that means people are already in the process of voting. So they may or may not continue on. I'm pretty sure though they continue on because they've already invested all that time. So, I think if the mistake happened earlier, there'd be a larger question about that. So.
Oh, I already spoke. Sorry, Kenzie. I'll put it down.
Okay, then we can go to Dinka.
So I'm just trying to understand the technical piece because my goal and as should always be not to disenfranchise voters, and particularly people who have always voted. It is not highly likely over the almost 30 years I've been doing this that students who, unless there's drama related to someone they know, won't go back and vote again. And particularly on a constitutional amendment, because students care the least about constitutional amendments. And that's not to disparage the work at all, because you all are those people who worked hard and really understand the importance of this organizationally. So I guess I because I'm not familiar with this, we've had this happen in the past, so this is not unheard of. And in the past, we have been able to go in and actually 1 year we went down and we did pull the entire ballot down, put the correction back up, and put the corrected ballot back in, and the ballot was up. And then we put the ballot back up with the correction. So which means that the ballot was down for like an hour. And then we extended voting for an additional hour after that. I'm not sure if that's doable with this system. We didn't disenfranchise any voters. We were able to, in that system, we were able to maintain everyone who had voted up to that point. We removed the ballot, we made corrections to the ballot, and then we put it back up, and then we extended the voting period for the time in which that ballot was down. And like I said, I'm not sure. So therefore we had both sets. And we worked with a company then. So we were able to, the company was able to maintain the integrity by saying, this is how this was voted up to this point, and this is how it was voted moving forward. So we didn't throw out those ballots. We just made the correction. It was a little different because we were missing an entire section, but it wasn't that we had duplicate sections. But I'm just wondering if that's an option at all. My thing would be try as much as possible not to disenfranchise those who have already voted. The likelihood that they will come back and vote is not high. And also, it probably would be a detriment to others who might want to vote. So I would say if we can have an add-on, if anything, to the existing ballot, or also if we can have a disclaimer saying, there was an error. Please note you are voting for only one, if we can't remove number 3, to say we are only voting for one number 3 or the third resolution. Anyway, so those are just my questions, but really to not say pull the ballot down completely if it's going to mean, a 5 or 6 hour delay or something like that. But that's.
Do you want me to tell you the back end, or do you want to let Natalie? She's got her hand up.
We can go to Natalie real quick, and then we'll go to you, Carrie.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with Dean Cobb, and I understand the situation. I know that it would be hard to just retract all the ballots, and I also don't want to discourage any of the students from voting. That's why it's a very big concern of mine. But as Dean Cobb mentioned, this has been an issue before. There have been issues with the ballot, and I think that this isn't the only issue on the ballot. I believe that one of the candidates' names is misspelled, and there's like a portion that's supposed to be highlighted like in red, but it's not, so it's not clear to the voters which is like the new and which is the old version. So how are we going to address that in the future? Like if we are holding another election, are we going, like, I just want to make sure that we make sure that this doesn't happen again, because it seems like it's happened quite often.
And I think that's important to ask. I think that's an important question. And actually, there's also been some other feedback. On my end, I'll tell you, truthfully, this is hard for me because it requires that I do a lot of technical stuff that I have to sit down for an uninterrupted amount of time to be able to concentrate and get it right. And it's sometimes this technology is beyond me, to be quite honest. But this is the system we have. I know, so there's some concerns about being able to put slate names next to people's names. That's not as easy as it looks. So for me to create that and to make it look uniform and to make it look usable and cohesive, I know exactly what you're talking about with the red lettering, because I looked at that because I thought, how am I going to convey this to students? Because essentially the entire thing would have been red. And what would that have meant to them on the outcome when you look at it as a whole? So I was thinking, okay, so I try to make it as clear as possible, saying this is an entirely new amendment, or this clause would replace the entire clause above, because I was trying to look at the user friendliness of this. And I would love to figure out if there's some other way we can make this happen and make this easier. Let's do that. But it's, be honestly with you, a lot of it is, I spent the weekend working on it, and it's technical. And I tried to go through and correct it. We were late this morning launching because I was testing all the links to make sure they were right. And one of the links was wrong, and I had to go back and recreate the whole thing again. And that's not something that happens. I mean, someone else who maybe has more skill, more time, I only do this once a year. So I agree, because I hate it. This is not a fun thing. It's embarrassment to my office. It's an embarrassment to me that it didn't go right, because you always want this to look good. But it's not easy. So yeah, what else can we do? I don't know. Unless we can, in the budget climate, I don't know if we can get more help to pay. That would be my request, is that I would like to have some paid help who could be able to help with some of this technical back end. Because I just spent the morning on the phone talking to the company. So to answer some of the questions about what can we do about this, we can, if we want to, go in there and put a statement on number 4 that says this was placed in error, do not vote. But then I have concerns because that means we have changed the ballot, and ballots should be tamper-proof. Once they're issued, they really shouldn't be changed. I did go in and change Jonathan's last name. That was a typo on his first name, and that was a typo. So I fixed that early on this morning. Not that many people voted, so the majority of the people won't see his name misspelled. I feel okay changing the ballot on that because that's appropriate, but I kind of am a little bit leery of changing the ballot because I want the integrity to be intact. I don't want people to say, I thought about just pulling down that one. And when I looked at it this morning, they were trending the same votes. But by the time I made the decision to pull it down, the vote count had changed for both. They weren't equal. So in answer to Kyle's question earlier, what happens if we get mixed results? Anytime a ballot issue like this fails, there's no reason why it can't be brought back. So if it fails, it can be brought back. So it's good work. It's solid work. We'll just save it and roll it through and bring it up again. So, but please let's think about what else we can do, because I don't want this to happen again either.
Dean Cobb, you had something you wanted to add in?
I didn't. I took my hand out. What I would say, Carrie, is I think we should put a disclaimer or an error on the last one. I think it's okay to go in as the producer of the ballot. I think it's better to correct the error as quickly as we can, even if that's a disclaimer. And so just for clarification, Carrie, so we cannot go back in and remove that, remove the duplication and add the correct one.
No, I'm willing to remove the duplication because I'm willing to remove number 4 because people had a chance to vote on number 3 and that was the same thing. So I feel like that's the vote because they read that first and that was their original intent. Number 4, I don't have a problem getting rid of, but I felt like that would ruin the integrity of the ballots. Like all of a sudden someone says, well, I voted on 4 things and there's only 3. That's kind of hinky. So I'm willing to put a disclaimer up there on that. What was your other question about
what about adding the part that's missing? Is that a possibility?
Even if it were a possibility, I wouldn't do it because then we will disenfranchise the voters who've already voted because they cannot go back and vote. It's a one-time vote only.
I would say remove the duplication. I think that's an acceptable. You're not changing the purpose and intent of the ballot. You are removing a technical error from the ballot. So you're not at all, in that case, eliminating the context of the ballot and putting an error.
Okay.
And I think that's acceptable. I actually think that's the appropriate action to take on that one.
That was a discussion you and I were going to have at 1:30.
Yeah. So yeah, that one. But I mean, I think that one is imperative. I don't know. I guess I look at this too as an opportunity. If we can't add that portion onto the ballot at this point, I think if there are other changes Supreme Council wanted to make on the Constitution, then we don't have to, AS doesn't have to fly this as a single issue election. You could actually add the things that you may not have gotten to as constitutional in terms of constitutional changes, if that's an option. I think for me, I kind of need to see that. I know I would probably err on actually adding it to the ballot, and I get that we're not allowing people to vote on that item. I don't know. I'm processing. Sorry.
Yeah, to me, I think there are other opportunities to get a vote on this. And I don't think the damage that would do to disenfranchised voters would be greater than the value of having this pass. I would rather have it go through in a clean election later on. So that way everyone has an opportunity to vote.
Great. We have Philly, then David. and then Kelly.
All right, thank you. So I just listened to Carrie talk as well, and now I'm honestly kind of I guess struggling with what I was gonna say originally, because I understand completely, Carrie, that like I'm definitely one to know that mistakes happen during such a high stress week. And especially you, Carrie, as well. I know that like it's been so much for you, especially with all this technology as well. And like it's just there's so many different kind of parties here with like different needs. I know Dean Cobb wants to just like, go with it. And I know Kyle's talking about, well, we don't want to just have a single election. And then I think David mentioned we can just have it roll over to next year's. And then we have Natalie as well, who's talking about like, hey, like we worked so hard on this, like we want to get this through now. And I just want to provide my input as the publicity guy. I know I don't even deserve a say on this for the error that I made that violated election code. Number one, I want to take full accountability for that. I'm so sorry, everyone. I wrote that two paragraph thing for everybody as an apology. And, it's just like, as a publicity person, I do want to provide my say on this is that, Carrie, I understand, like, you have really good morals, Carrie. It's like, you don't want to, have this violation. You don't want to, there's like this hard kind of technical gap in terms of that. And also, you don't want to ruin the integrity of the election. And just as someone who understands kind of the public relations damage control side as well of things, a lot of people will not really worry in terms of like, they're defrauding me. I mean, that's my input. I understand, Carrie, like, though you do have good morals. It's like, well, I don't want to add it in, right? Because it's like bad for the integrity. But just as a damage control standpoint, I think no one really care as much. And if there's anything, I will be available for damage control. I will answer any concerns if you need me. So I'm here for you, Carrie. But it's just like there's so many different like people talking. So I'm just trying to like be another voice.
I just wanted to ask about the feasibility, and I know that we do anonymous ballot casting of ballots, but I just want to know what the feasibility was of maybe contacting everyone that has already voted and creating a separate ballot just for them so that they can have the opportunity to vote on that amendment. I know that's like super like doing something last minute, but I don't know, like maybe that's how we can rectify this. Just a suggestion.
Okay, on the back end, so the system does allow me to download the people who participated up until this point. So I do have their emails and their student IDs. I do not know how they voted. The system does not attach the two. So I could create an active voter list from just those people and then send them a link to say, we would like you to vote on this. You missed the opportunity through our fault. We could send it and create a special election just for them. And then you would have to add those two together. If that's what folks want, we're running into time frames. We would then have to delay results and we would have to change election committee meeting to Monday because I would still want to give these folks the same amount of time period. So part of this also, I want to throw this back to elections committee because some of that has to do with, I have to take direction from elections committee.
What?
Huh?
We didn't make you do it.
So in other words, long and short, yes, we could do that. I would hang up the phone right now and start working on that because honestly, it would take me a couple hours to get it set up. For one is not bad, but when I was doing 16 different ones, yeah, that was a 2 to 3 day. And you still see, I still made a mistake.
I'm just so happy that my amendments didn't mess up last year because I had like 12.
You did. You had 12. You had so many, and like the year before, they had a ton too. And not to diss the whole commencement constitution thing. Sometimes this stuff is so esoteric. It is above so many students. I can tell you how many students. I can look at the voting pattern and tell you a lot of them. They don't even go through the whole ballot and vote for all 12 candidates. They just don't. Sometimes it's just too much for folks. I'm glad we only have 4 though, because I was really excited. I was like, 4, they'll probably get through all 4 of those. So Anyway, I see Kelly. What's up, Kelly?
Oh, I was just going to say we could take this as a positive opportunity to actually promote these amendments because I'm sure like nobody knows what the heck is going on. Even myself, I try to read all of it, but I am busy, y'all. Like I can't read every single word. So I think if y'all really care about this amendment that you spent so much time on, this would be a perfect opportunity to work with Philly to like promote it, right? Like what does this mean? What does it mean for students? And then have it reintroduced either next year in the fall, as David said, or just later on, a week from now. I don't think students would be really mad that you sent them an email about an amendment. So yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
My concern, with going to the election committee is being able to make this decision is to be able to pull an election committee together in a timely fashion to resolve this. So I think this is going to be an administrative resolution. I mean, already for Friday, I'm struggling to get a solid time for people to meet for elections. So I would say if I know this is a discussion item, but I would say that we probably are in a position to have to move forward administratively at this point, rather than waiting for an election commission meeting to happen, because you're probably talking about tomorrow sometime for a single item, for a single constitution item, which students haven't seen yet. So I would say I would probably avoid doing that.
So can I tell you what I would, Kelly, do you still have something?
Oh, I just kind of want to reiterate, sorry, it was just nothing Dinghava said was perfect, not related to what she was saying, but people who end up voting for this constitutional amendment will be voting anyway, if that makes sense. Like for the people who scroll past it, obviously their vote isn't going to matter. So like reintroducing it later won't decrease the integrity of whether or not this passes.
Yeah. Can I just tell you what I would like to see done, and you can all tell me? I'm willing to go back and make an amendment to number 4, and tell folks, hey, there was a clerical error. You do not need to vote on the following item. Because right now I'm looking at the votes. They are very close. Can I also tell you that most constitutional amendments never fail because people vote them down. They usually fail because they fail to garner them enough support needed, right? So there's that. And I am, like I said, I am happy to do another election next week, 2 weeks, or in the fall. I think when you have fall, you have a lot of people. There could be other issues on there as well. Yeah, there could be other things that come up. So I understand the concern that it's a single ballot issue, but it also could be a good time to rally around the Constitution. Next year's group has to do the Constitution Day anyway, as per law. So we could tie that into Constitution Day, voting on your AS Constitution, why those documents are important, and we can hold a 24-hour special election. So my opinion is, unless I get directives from the new Chief Justice or the new president of AS that they don't want to move this forward, I will move it forward next year.
I mean, constitutionally, either way, the amendment will have to move forward because the executive board and the Supreme Council voted in favor. So constitutionally, it must be put to a vote at some point.
Okay, then we'll take it from there. Anyone else have strong feelings? Kyle, do you have strong feelings? Because this was really a lot of what you're doing.
Honestly, I don't know the tech side of it as well as you do. And I mean, I'd prefer to have it done now just because we've been working on this. I think it's going to be important for next year's group. That's kind of why I've been pushing this, because it is all about, like, the name of it kind of says what it is about. It's the whole point about collaboration, which I don't know if it'll be a problem, but I don't know until something were to occur. So the goal would be to have it out as soon as possible for the next incoming group, because at this point, it's not going to matter much for us. It's going to matter for the next group. So I prefer as soon as possible, but if we can get it next year during Constitution Day, I think that should be fine because that's still pretty much the beginning of their term. So, I mean, in general, I don't know if it matters all that much. I just don't want to make sure that we don't forget about it and make sure that it gets out there for students to vote on.
Oh, no, not going to forget about it.
And Jasmine, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you. Overall, like I really appreciate Natalia coming in and taking the time, and also like Supreme Council for actually, taking their time to reestablish the Constitution as well. I know that took a lot of time and a lot of bringing folks together, and that is never an easy task. And I do agree that we should have people vote on this issue like sooner than later, just because at the beginning we weren't really like I want to say we weren't really working as a community on here, and I see the importance in that, and I see why like Supreme Council took the initiative to bring that conversation forward, and just going to their meeting last week. They wake up early, they have their like thoughts together, and like they do their research on all of this. And so I do encourage everyone to like continue educating like even the next board on how critical like these amendments are, because we should be aware that like these community guidelines are in place, just like the other amendments that are currently in place are important and are on the ballot. This one is just as important. So thank you, Carrie, for trying your best, and thank you to Supreme Council for always for doing all the work that they have been doing this entire semester to get these amendments out. So that's all I needed to say.
Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to add in on this? No. Okay, considering this is pretty time sensitive, is there anything that we need to do, or is this just going to be handled on your end, Carrie, or how are we going to go about this now?
What I'm feeling is that from the group is I'm currently in the process right now of putting up a statement saying that this was an accident, this was duplicated, you do not have to vote on it. I'm looking at the vote. It is interesting. It is very interesting. Two of your fellow students voted no on 3, but voted yes on 4. So that just kind of tells me, I don't think people are reading some of these things. They're just voting. That's not to say that their vote doesn't count. It's always about voter enfranchisement, right? So I'm going to put the statement up there, and then I will be, Mackenzie, you and I, let's talk. We can decide if we're going to have another round of votes in 2 weeks, or if we're going to hold it in the fall.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And on that note, thank you to all of our guests for coming in today. We appreciate your input on this and having this lovely discussion. We appreciate your opinions. For the sake of time, though, we are going to move on to our other items. Feel free to stick around if you'd like. If not, if you have to go somewhere, then I hope you have a nice day. So on that note, we'll go ahead and move on to discussion item C, future events. I know we don't have too much time, but since we are coming at the end of our terms, we have about 4 weeks left. It is a really important time for you to get your events out there. And if I know several of you discussed some items when we were having a brainstorming session on this a couple of weeks ago, and I know some of those events haven't passed yet. So this is sort of the opportunity to further discuss them and see if you're still going to be doing those events, or if you needed help planning some, or just overall if you had a collaboration you wanted to do, or anything related, honestly, to future events. We could go ahead and discuss it now. I know also I didn't ask you to prepare anything for today, but since also it's something that you could have been planning this whole time, I'm just sort of bringing it up now. So if you have anything you want to discuss, I'll give y'all a moment to unmute yourselves. If not, then we can go on from there.
I have some stuff. Yay. More to do like with the end of the year banquet. I have some ideas, but I would love to hear from y'all and like what you would like to see there. Like right now, I'm like looking at photo booths, like maybe getting movie licensing rights, and we'll blow up like the big screen and just have it going so people can watch it as like the night goes on. like different activities, like what type of food you want there, any ideas you guys have, please just like, what do you guys want to see? It is like to recognize all the work that we put in over this year. So like, I want to make sure that everyone like sees something that they would be happy with at this event. So, and this is open to executive board and all of our committees. So if you guys want me to come talk to your committees about the event, I can do that. But anything you guys want to see in particular, any ideas that you have that can like get me going down a certain track would be great.
This is a question to either Carrie or Dean Cobb. As it stands now, are we allowed to reserve a space at the campus for this purpose?
Um,
Sorry, not at this moment.
I think certain people think it is, but I think other people haven't. I don't think the college has gotten their act together
Yeah,
with a uniform message.
exactly. That what Carrie said. Sorry.
Interesting.
What Carrie said. We don't have a standardized protocol for right now. I know there's a lot of talk and planning for everything, you know, for us to be back and fully engaged with student life, you know, effective June 15th. As Carrie said, that I have not gotten a global message to that I guess perspective. So we are working toward that. But what that looks like, we don't really know. I know we have other entities that think they're going to have on-campus graduation or recognition ceremonies, and we've told them no. So I wouldn't anticipate that this is going to be an on-campus event, that your banquet is going to be an on-campus event. I wish I could tell you something different, but I just haven't been given the protocols that are still in place. Don't really kind of allow for it, but the college has not in and of itself said that it's okay. I understand. I think Dr. Andrew Jonas said it was okay. That's what I heard, but then I heard that might not be true either.
I never get a straight answer. So
I'm going to ask the direct question again, and then I will let you all know. And because I've asked the direct question and not gotten a direct response. So I wish I could advise you differently. But as soon as I do, I will let you know.
So I guess at this point, then I think we're restricted to any venue within our school district, right?
Within your jurisdiction, right? And I know it looks like things are opening up a lot. However, what I also have noticed is that people have not been allowing for there to be large indoor events. And in terms of other venues, so you definitely want to do the research and what's required of that. I do know, however, we're being pushed to have the movie night on campus and to have a drive-in on campus after June 15th. So yes, so stay in your jurisdiction, but you also want to look at percentages of how many folks can be in a space with a certain configuration.
I was just maybe going to recommend getting like a bank, like renting out one of those like big rooms at hotels, like sort of similar to what we did with our winter retreat last year. That's what we're doing with the statewide student senate. This Friday, me and Kelly will be in San Francisco, and they have rented out like rooms for a business meeting. And so that's something that hotels are allowing, that I know that our hotels are allowing right now. So maybe that could be an option for a banquet.
Definitely. I'm writing things down.
I think that's a good idea. I think the number that I was working with is 100. And that's what I had told Alex, that right now it seems like we're allowed to have gatherings of up to 100. I too am getting mixed messages. I'm being asked to plan events. But then when I say, okay, and they're like, we'll get back to you. So I'm like, we've had that before. We've had that before. And so I think you all can decide that there's a day that you just have to pull the plug and say, you know what, we're going to pay the money. We're going to rent out a hall. You can rent out a hall that holds 300 people and put 100 people in there. That I think is then safe, right? Most people are now, I think we're going to be at 50% capacity for outside venues.
I think maybe when we start to get more clear answers is when the COVID-19 task force releases its reopening plans officially. I know that they're meeting next week to talk about that and finalize that. So, and send those recommendations to Dr. Jonas. So I'm assuming that that's why they're holding off.
That's what I've been told. We're waiting for recommendations from the task force.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know, because that kind of pushes back our planning because like I don't want us to plan something on spending money on a venue and then like it turns out maybe we can just rent out a venue at the campus. But
I think that's the decision that we're coming up on within a couple days. We're going to have like fish or cut bait, right? So either we're just going to say too bad to get things going, to get people booked, we're going to have to go with an outside hall. And just if it comes back to us, you can then decide if you want to cancel and pay the cancellation fee and bring it back on campus or not. Right now, people are being very tight-lipped. And if they're not telling Dean Cobb, they're certainly not telling me. But they might tell you, David, because you meet with Erica.
maybe I can send an email. Who knows?
So I have another question. Since we're being pushed to do summer events, if the banquet were to take place, let's say like in the last week of June, would that be like okay to have on campus then? Or are we still not like sure?
I think that would give you a week's more time. So if you did want to move it to later, and it could be the big party where you invest, that's the investiture date, right? You could do that on June.
25th.
You could do it on June 25th. You could also, I was going to say, if you want to do it on June 30th, that's, yeah. 25th would work. 25th is really kind of your last hurrah, because really
That's our last day.
Yeah, your last day is the 28th. So I would say you two, you make the decision, because you're dealing with like making these plans. And at a certain point, if the unknown is so hard to work with, let's find the known and just say, we're going to be in one spot. Too late, we can't wait for them, right? And just do it that way. Because you've got to book, if we're going off, either way, we have to book caterers.
Right.
So, and we're coming up on now 3 weeks before the event. If we push it back to the end of the month, now we're 4 weeks, and we're probably comfortable. So I would leave that up to you and respect whatever decision you make, because you all are planning it. And if any of you other folks have questions or comments about what you want done, you better talk to them and help them. So it's just not those two. Jasmine can work out the catering with Whole Foods.
Any other questions, either for Alex, from Alex, related to this event, another event? Did anybody have another one of their events that they want to discuss, seeing as it seems as though everyone's done with this one?
Oh, right. I forgot. I was gonna bring up because so AS has a lot of money that it has not spent. That has been budgeted for this year, and I wanted to mention that, and maybe throw out the and me and Christina and a few others have been talking about this about potentially throwing, I don't know, some drive-through giveaway of a bunch of items that we and spend as much as money as we can because I just think it's very unfair for the students that are outgoing this year. Haven't really benefited a lot from giveaways and from the regular benefits that we usually give out. And the money that they paid in their student and their ASB fees, they haven't really gotten much out of that. So I don't know. I was just wondering of ways that we can spend that money because it's not getting spent. We have like $80,000 and we budgeted $100,000.
Christina, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask because yes, it's great that we can spend money. I'm all for it, actually. I'm just wondering how, because I know if we spend more than, I believe it's 3,000, we have to bring it up with the Board of Trustees. And I was wondering how we would go about that.
Would we just like split the budgets? Because I know we've done that in previous times when we were last minute for something. Can we just say, look, these are different parts of the event?
I am interpreting that directive as to say any check written at one time over $3,000 must go to the Board of Trustees. If I have 5 requests at $2,500, none of them violates the $3,000 threshold, so therefore I do not need to send it on. And that's what I'll do until I'm directed to do otherwise.
All right, you heard her. We're buying everything. No, I'm kidding.
Love for you. I really would love for you all to buy this stuff, because also the likelihood that next year's group will have this kind of money, or what they need to do is they need to save this money because I think we're coming back full time in spring. Let's have a heck of a nice welcome week, right? Let's put a lot of money into a really nice welcome week when we're welcoming everyone back to campus. So instead of having to spend $6,000, $10,000 in the fall on swag, let's spend it now so that group has that swag and we could put that money towards an awesome welcome week for your students when everyone comes back onto campus. Hell, you all could come back for whatever colleges you're at and be welcomed back to campus.
So, sort of speaking on Dean Ka's item, because she was mentioning don't put the date on items. I do agree on that also. So if we are presenting budgets for these items, how should we list it? Because usually I know we're supposed to present like, oh, it's for this event, but if we don't want to associate it with a specific event or date, how should we list it then?
You have associated students promotional items.
Okay.
For associated student events.
Okay, just because I remember before we've had issue with budgets having the same name and having to accept those. I don't know, because I remember like twice we had like an AS giveaway thing because the 2 events were like back to back, and so someone had to like change the name for it for one of them because it looked as though it was the same budget being continued. Unless that's not a thing anymore and I'm just remembering this wrong, but I remember that being an issue before.
So probably my request is that, and I know Jasmine and Christina were working on this because we all talked about buying bucket hats and stuff like that, that you all get together, or maybe you can have an action item and form a working group and 3 people decide, you set a budget, say your goal is to spend $20,000 on giveaways, and that you have a list of things that you're going to do, right? And it's all coming together at the same time, so there's not going to be that conflicting issue.
Okay. Anybody else have something they want to add in the last 10 minutes that we have?
We need to move on to bill acceptance.
All right, before we move on to bill acceptance, does anybody have anything they want to throw in really quickly? Nope.
Nope, just spend that money, y'all.
Yep. Spend that money. Let's try and get it in the next week or 2 or so because we got to start placing orders.
Yeah, actually, yo, seriously, you need to play whatever we're going to do. I'm going to tell you, your deadline is June 1st. All right.
Can I put in a request?
Pardon me?
Can I put in a request?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put in a request to spend this money, y'all. If y'all don't want to do it, I will.
Yes.
You want to spend some money?
We just need to have, so you need to go and look in order, get the orders processed, get everything done, and get those invoices to Sharon by June 1st so she can process them and pay them for that fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends July 1st. Okay, so just make sure y'all get that done, please. I mean, I think David's right. It is fair. Like, giveaways have a lot to do with the morale of the college. It's kind of fun. I still see people wearing their PCC lanyards when I'm in Trader Joe's. I'm like, I know where you got that from. So
I still have mine. I mean, we have enough money to like buy students sweatshirts, like actual clothes. Like we have a lot of money. So
anything but food.
Yeah, I was gonna make the point too. Maybe we could like buy better quality, like material, because I know that like the lanyards I got, those shits like broke from my heavy ass keys, like second day of wearing it. You know what I mean? And then that's how I lost my keys. No. Yeah, maybe we could invest in like better merchandise. That's what I'm saying. Like how David was suggesting. Buy everybody AS cap and gowns for when they graduate eventually. No.
All right.
Buy everybody rims. No.
It seems as though we have plenty of ideas, and as much as I love this discussion, we are getting short on time and do have some talking from Kelly, so I'm going to go ahead and move us along. But if you want to further discuss this, you can reach out to someone you heard on items that you were interested in doing and work with them. But on that note, we're going to move on. So moving on then to AS training. We do not have time for any today, so we're going to move on from that, unless Carrie, you wanted to throw out some wisdom really quickly. Nope. Okay, we can go ahead and move on then. Appointment to college-wide committees. I'm actually going to be appointing myself to the PCC Recognition Award Selection Committee and also to the Elections Committee, because I did not do that last week. But do we have any other committees we need to add people onto? I'm going to take that as a no. So we'll go ahead and move on then. Moving on then, appointment to AS committees. Does anybody have any committee appointments they wanted to make?
I have 2 committee appointments to make. So okay. I would like to appoint Raymond Turchan to the Finance Committee. His name is spelled Raymond. His last name is spelled Turchan. Then I also want to appoint Christina Zhang to the Finance Committee. Her name is spelled, she should know how to spell it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Does anybody else have any committee appointments that they want to make? No. Okay, we can go ahead and move on then. Moving on to bill acceptance. Kelly, the floor is yours for the next 7 minutes.
Yay, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and see if I...
Okay, you should be good now.
All right, let's do this. But, all right, here we go. Okay, so this is the same document that I sent last Wednesday. Just a few of the bills that I went over last week. Do we have any questions on anything? Would anyone like me to kind of go over any of the bills in more depth, or go over the bills one more time, just in general? I have a Senate folder and a House folder. So the Senate folder, we have talking points, limiting it to 4, and then allowing 6 additional bills to be put in the folder. We just be sending additional information as a follow-up email, because we understand how short these lobby meetings are. We don't want to overwhelm the staff members, so that we can adequately lobby on the bills that we do have and express personal anecdotes and experiences and why it matters to PCC. So yes, our lobby committee has been working really hard these past 2 months on finding these federal pieces. Some of these have already passed the House, they passed the House and they're moving on to the Senate. So a lot of good movement. We were able to kind of specialize and really kind of jump on bills that had a lot of traction, but still need some movement and push in the Senate. But yes, any questions? Not, then see, relatable. Yeah, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the federal legislation from the lobby committee for the 2021 academic year.
Well, move.
I move.
Okay, we had a first and a second. Oh yeah, Kelly, you can stop sharing your screen unless you want
Just
us
one
to
more
keep
second.
seeing each other.
Oh, sorry.
And then we bring this to, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this to a vote then, since we did have some motions. We'll start off with Chris.
Aye.
Christina.
Aye.
Louise.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Alex.
Aye.
Jasmine.
Aye.
Philly.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Emmanuel.
Aye.
Kyle.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
All right, we've gone ahead and voted on these. Congratulations, Kelly. We can go ahead and move on with the agenda then to approval of ICC funding. Chris, do we have any?
We have one. I'm not going to share my screen because I know we're short on time, but there was one request for a Global Club who wanted $200 for a guitar player to perform during one of their events. That was the only request that was turned in and approved at the meeting last Friday.
All right, thank you, Chris. We can go ahead and move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment? Can somebody check the YouTube for me, please? And if there's any public here that would like to say something as well, this is your time that you can go ahead and do so.
Good work, everyone. Good to hear y'all.
Thank you for that public comment. Carrie, do we have any on the YouTube?
I believe I am the only one watching the YouTube.
All right, thank you. We can go ahead and move on into announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they would like to make?
We'll have a new board next meeting. Just saying, that's pretty exciting.
So exciting.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
if the new board doesn't, if the new people who get the position don't reach out to you, be kind and reach out to them because they're going to start shadowing you all.
That'll be fun. Any other announcements? I'll go ahead and go. Don't forget Louise's events and also the insurrection events. Help promote both of those flyers so we can get as much attendance as we can. Don't forget also promote elections. I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements people mentioned that I'm forgetting. I think that's all the announcements that I remember. Last call if anybody else has any they would like to make.
Where do I find access to those flyers so I can go ahead and share them?
We can email them to you.
Can you do that, please? Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have anything they want to add in? No. Okay. We can go ahead and move on then to future meeting dates and times. Our next meeting will be May 19th. Make sure you send me any agenda items on May 13th, 11:59, including the supplemental items. If you're sending me any budgets, make sure you include those as well, because if you do not, then I can just say no and not include that in the next meeting, and you'll have to wait for the following week. And on that note, I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 1:59 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Can I get it first? Hey.
You're actually a third, Alex, but thank you. Now that we have our motions. Do we have any abstentions? Any opposed? No? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Let me go ahead and get us off the live.
So close.
Better, Alex. Come on.
I know. I gotta do better.